All right, with Daniel for the NQ80 Daily, I'm going to talk about Mauricio Pochettino. Would you go full Poch, Daniel? Poch to United or not?
I guess I'm a tentative, yeah. In that, when you have these situations where it sort of builds and it builds, it felt like that's one of the reasons Mourinho got there in the end, that it felt people thought, well, we should get to see what happens if he gets that job. We all deserve to see how that one works out, even though by the point he actually got it,
he was done.
We sort of knew how it was going to work out. But Pochettino, my main reservation with Pochettino when I said I preferred Ten Hag was that is he just a bit less good than the twats we need him to beat? Now, one of those aforementioned twats is gone.
Mm-hmm.
And the one that's left, he actually does quite well against. So that would be maybe a reason to get him, but also it's not as obvious as that. And the other reason to get him, and I am absolutely certain I'd prefer him to Ten Hag, I think, now, is that before we got, when we were discussing on this pod, in fact, which of the two it was, because somehow it ended up in that binary.
Yeah.
We'd be one of them too. I said my reservation with Ten Hag was that I'm sure that to do this job, you need charisma, because even the people that have had minor success, Atkinson, Tommy Dock, Mourinho, even Van Gaal won the FA Cup, have had
charisma,
loads of it.
Loads
of it. And Pochettino has that. And I didn't think Ten Hag had that. And now I know for sure that he
doesn't. Yeah.
So there's that. Now, the other point I think we need to make about Pochettino here is I saw a graph yesterday. The Devil's something or other, someone who talks about tactics.
Devil's DNA.
Showing that teams are pressing less than they were.
Mm.
So I would ask that question of Poch, because that was his best team, his Tottenham team, pressed like maniacs.
Yeah.
So one of the questions is how will you do when you haven't got Harry Kane scoring goals in almost every game? But this other voice in my head says, well, who helped Harry Kane get that good? And I'm sure part of the answer is him.
Yep. 5 years. Yeah.
Also, the reason teams press less, I'm guessing, is because there's a downside to pressing. One is your players get knackered, and by the end of the season, it might be a problem, or you might get injuries, or the next season or the season after that. Is it sustainable as a way of playing successful football? That'd be one reason. Another reason would be any tactic that you can ever invent in the history of the world. The teams that you're doing it on will find a way, and teams that got better at finding a way.
Yep.
And also, keepers and defenders are just getting better and better on the ball.
Yep.
And that ultimately is the key to beating any press.
Right. Exactly.
So there's that.
Yep.
But I have a but.
Go on.
My but is that Klopp was a maniacal presser, went and bought Thiago. In parentheses, that to me is when it all went wrong for him. As soon as he made that change, he didn't have the defence to support that. But also, Guardiola's changed too. Like, who's doing less pressing? Fewer pressing? Him. His team's doing fewer pressing.
They are unpressing.
And so if he can change, then Pochettino, in theory, should be able to change. The question then would be, can he?
Yeah.
What about you?
I actually think he's more adaptable than perhaps we've taken him for, because he changed at Paris Saint-Germain, where generally it's considered that it was not a successful period. He did win the Cup and the League and the Super Cup. So, he got some trophies under his belt, even if it was a disastrous time. But his team didn't press anywhere near as much as his Tottenham team. Now, that's partly to do with the people he had up front who absolutely refused to do any pressing. Mbappe with Mason Greenwood, funnily enough, the two least pressing forwards in the whole of Europe. And so he had to adapt there. My reservation with Poch is, initially it was, of course, could he build a team that actually wins stuff? And that was a mitigation at Tottenham. The mitigation at Tottenham is it's Tottenham, lads.
No one's trying to win stuff really at Tottenham.
They don't. Like they're not.
No, it's not about winning stuff. It's about returns.
Exactly. And they're a very well-run football club from a business point of view, because they're one of the few that actually make a profit. And they did make substantial profits under Pochettino, and he used very young players, and he got them to a Champions League final and a League Cup final, and so on and so on and so on. And the other reservation is it kind of looks like he's gone a little bit backwards. So his career progressed from Southampton to Spurs, took a break, got the big job at Paris Saint-Germain, didn't work out, took a break, got a job at Chelsea amongst the Todd Boehly chaos, billionaire dickhead syndrome in full flow there. And somehow it seems like it hasn't worked out. Although, again, a mitigation, they've got better every month throughout the year, haven't they? And they actually finished the season very strongly.
And talking about pressing, Cole Palmer does not like to press, which is one of the reasons I think that Chelsea probably is quite a good fit for him, in that his work off the ball isn't great. I don't know. I think I really like watching him play, and he's someone that I think could have a really important role at international level because he's just unlike other players. He changes things. So I totally understand his success and why he's going to the Euros too, but he's not that active off the ball, and yet Pochettino managed to work around it. And as you say, like, he got better every month because he was left with a mess to unravel, and it took him time. And then he's getting injuries, and
a lot of injuries. More minutes than United.
Like I think one of the reasons he's meant to be leaving Chelsea is to do with who he wanted to bring in. And I don't know what the rules at United would be like about that now. But it's supposed to be, you sort of have your civil service almost, where you have your permanent staff and then you have your manager who comes and goes. But I don't know how that'll work. I mean, I think that there is that bit of me that thinks, is he yesterday's man? And what you mentioned about he wasn't set up to succeed at Tottenham, and that is 100% true. But then he gets himself into a position to succeed, and he can't get it over the line. So, what, like that? Do you remember that semi-final where we beat them? Now, that was one of the better United performances under Mourinho, maybe the best. But to not be able to find a way past that United team from 1-0 up early on in a cup semi-final felt like a massive error, and he wasn't able to do anything about it at half-time or off the bench. So there is that. And failing to win a league with PSG, I know he won it once, didn't he? But there's 1 year he doesn't win it.
Yeah.
That also feels like a bit of an oversight. But certain managers are good at certain jobs, usually. You have, if you want to, well, we talked about this before, if you want to get from sort of lower mid-table to just below European places, hire David Moyes. If you want to take a sort of mid-table team and have them pushing towards Champions League, hire Unai Emery. And it may be that where United are now is not bad for Pochettino, because they need a leader, they need some charisma, and they need a manner of playing, someone who's going to tell them this is how you play, and they're going to understand it and it's going to work. And I feel like that might be quite a good fit for him. And I'd massively prefer him to your Tuchels, your Allardyces.
Allardyce.
Your Potters.
Now that would be a turn of events, wouldn't it?
No, but it's like, I'm being serious in a sense, because that's what it is. Like, it's Tuchel, Potter, fucking whoever that guy, remember. Like, this is like your elite level. When there was that point where there was a free job and Curbs would get it. It's like that. Your average white men that get jobs that they shouldn't necessarily get.
Well, Brexit Jim might like that kind of profile, because he was on telly yesterday going on about how Brexit has failed because it was all about immigration and it didn't stop immigration. So would he want an Argentinian in charge of United? I'm being facetious, but
you are being facetious. But that point made me think: is this guy simple?
Or Brexit Jim?
It was said at the beginning that you wouldn't reduce immigration that way because you get just different immigrants. And why do you even care about immigration
when you live in Monaco? Yeah, and you're a billionaire.
But even if you didn't, where would you ever come across an immigrant in your life? Why do you care? Why do you mind immigrants? And now you're owner of Man United or whatever you are. You've got some immigrants that are quite worth having.
Yeah.
And I appreciate that this is sort of a bad point to make, because immigrants shouldn't have to prove their worth. Like, their humanity should be enough. So let me be very clear on that point. But the problem with immigration you would generally associate with a different demographic, I think, who were voting Brexit because of immigration. He's someone I thought would have voted Brexit for sovereignty.
Yeah, he doesn't mention that at all. Yeah.
And also, I mean, it's so hard to find any time, even forget about what Brexit was, for anyone that thought it would be good, because it was so obviously not good. We can't rehash this dog shit right here and now, but it was just one of those things that was so obviously bollocks that it was unfathomable when the great British public decided to go for it, except it was not unfathomable at all. It was, but I think that they will probably fancy Poch more than they fancy Thomas Frank. And you can't. And who are the other candidates here, really? Who are the serious candidates for this job? De Zerbi?
De Zerbi, because he's available, and Pochettino, because he's available, and Potter and Southgate, because they're probably both available. Potter certainly is. And Tuchel, because he's available. So there's a bunch of available candidates who might be the kind of profile. Of course, we don't actually yet know what that profile is, because they've not decided to say anything about it.
The word profile does so much heavy lifting in football these days. Profile the minutes.
Love
it. What profile has he got? I mean, he looks better from the right side than the left side.
He's quite a handsome man, Pochettino. Although as he's got older, he's gone from a nice nicely brushed hair, very neat, little side parting, to a lot of gel. And I know we talked about this on the main pod the other day, but it's a lot of gel. So
it's not as much as De Zerbi, and I think we can save him. I mean, he would at least redeem the follicle quotient of United managers, and he is better looking than
Ten Hag.
Moyes. I mean, Mourinho have something to say on that topic. Fair enough. But there's like a kind of a cuteness about Pochettino. He's got like chutchy cheeks.
Would you say, let's say this scenario, that you give him a 3-year contract, and you say, you might not be saying this publicly, but in your mind, it's okay, he's the guy who takes us to be a challenger. Now, whether he's the guy who takes us to be title winners, Champions League winners, who knows? But 3-year contract, that's the time period Ineos seem to be thinking about as returning United to being competitive. And by the way, it probably will take that long. United owe £277 million in outstanding transfer fees. I can't even see that much talent on the pitch right now. I mean,
that's so brilliant.
Half of that. So maybe that scenario would work for you. What do you reckon?
I wouldn't want to appoint someone with that in mind. I want to appoint someone who I hope is going to build a dynasty. Obviously, that's quite hard to do, and maybe he isn't the guy, but it shouldn't. Also, I mean, I know it might have to take 3 years if we literally don't have any money, but it shouldn't take 3 years to get us good, because we've got the bones of a good team already. We've got players. We've got Højlund, Garnacho, Mainu, Martinez, players we think are good enough. So, whilst we do still need a disgusting amount of players, I mean, it is absurd that we do, but we need, I was saying to a mate today, we need 2 midfield players, 100%. I cannot countenance anything other than 2 midfield players, because we can't just get one and then find ourselves in the same position when he gets injured or suspended, as he inevitably will. And we need the only defender who's acceptable is Martinez, because Shaw can't stay fit and the rest aren't good enough. So that's quite a lot of work done. And we need at least one deputy striker, and we need depth. We need fucking depth charges. But,
one scenario is you accelerate a few of those under-18s who've done so well this year into the first-team squad. We've seen a few of them. Ethan Wheatley's been a regular in the first-team squad. Harry Amos has been a regular, not played yet, but been a regular in the squad. Oliver Collier giving his Spanish pronunciation there, has been in the squad. So there's a few of them on the fringes.
There's absolutely loads of them that are meant to be special. Shea Lacey, we've all seen loads in. Amir Ibrahimov, who is he something like 16 and playing international age group way above and being great.
Yeah.
There are people that that followed the 18s, had time to follow the 18s much more so than I have, and there are quite a few players in there that people think are going to make it as a centre back as well. I think his name escapes me, but so yes, and I say this every time almost I think about a signing. I think about who's behind them, because you don't want to block the path of players you think are going to be good.
Mm-hmm.
You want to get them into the first team as soon as you can. So there is that, and Pochettino he's someone who would husband your young players carefully. I think you could trust him like that in a way you couldn't trust Mourinho or Van Gaal. I mean, Van Gaal would pick them, but it was just with no discerning eye whatsoever.
Yeah.
There's a million United games to Tyler Blackett.
Yeah.
Paddy McNair. Meanwhile, he sold while selling Michael Keane.
Yeah.
Fine, it wasn't good enough for United, but you got those three. I mean, come on. Yeah, and Michael Keane is not the one out of them three you flog.
Paddy McNair was at Sunderland for a long time. He's just left. Tyler Blackett. Was he at Reading for a while? I can't even remember whether he did anything in his career at all post. Michael Keane's obviously had a good career. Yeah, no, look, I fully agree with the point that Pochettino, at least at Tottenham and to some degree at Chelsea, because of they had the youngest squad in the Premier League, has done very well in terms of like working with younger players, trusting younger players, bringing them into the team and the squad. And if that's United's future, which it may well be, given the transfer fee nonsense that's gone on over the last few years, then he might be a good fit. Then again, you might say that again about Ten Hag as well, because he has trusted younger players with a lot of minutes.
Yeah, the problem with Ten Hag isn't that. It's just it's the football stuff.
Yeah.
And maybe Pochettino. I mean, I imagine Pochettino likes working with young players because they'll listen and do what he tells them, and then be indebted to him. And that's often how it works. Like with Arteta at Arsenal, who, I mean, I can't imagine he's someone necessarily that the young players would like if they met him in a different context, but they feel attached to him and they owe him because he gave them their chance. And so that could be quite nice. I mean, yeah, I would take if Pochettino. Yeah, I mean, he's not the ideal choice. There isn't an ideal choice, or at least the people that might be better than him, and we don't know. So we don't know if McKenna's better than him. My worry with McKenna, he doesn't have the experience. To go from Ipswich to managing Manchester United feels like a massive jump of someone who doesn't seem to have huge magnetism. He's more about people believing in the football. And I don't know what Ruben Amorim does or is, but he plays three at the back, and I think that would probably be enough to write him out of the equation. I think Thiago Motta does as well, but he's going to go to Juve.
Looks like it.
Yeah, out of the people that are left, I guess, because part of it is you want someone to kind of grab the club and wrap everything up in this blanket of love and whatever. And Pochettino, of all the names, Pochettino feels like the only one. Maybe Thomas Frank, who's capable of doing that.
Yeah.
And
all right. We'll leave it on your love for Thomas Frank, I think. Daniel, fully on the Thomas Frank agenda. Pochettino, I'd probably take him. I mean, I know the fan base.
I could definitely take him. Oh, no problem.
All right. I don't think I'd take Thomas Frank. I reckon that guy's a real bastard.
He feels like one of those people who knows like your pressure points. He'd be like with his little fingers like pressing you in places.
A low blow straight away. Thank you very much. We'll see you with the main pod tomorrow and probably a daily on Friday. And we'll see whether United are bold in the next manager choice or not. Bye now.
Peace.